Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Reverend Ken, and I want to let you know that there is an infinite source available to everyone. It's there for each who seek it, no matter their race, their gender, or even their religion. Believe what you know, but you should really know that the source of the universe is also the source of each of us. Therefore, the principle supporting the stars is the principle available and supporting each of us. As I declare this statement in the first person, I declare it for all. I am open and receptive to this divine living principle. Father, Mother, God, I am grateful. This is my declaration. This is my truth. And as I work to accept it, so it becomes, and all is well and well indeed. Hmm. With the work that we're doing, the question can possibly become, how do I consciously direct the energy of my life? Well, I want to welcome some of you back for the first time, or for not for the first time, obviously, but I want to welcome you back. And for the first time, I want to welcome others to practical spiritual living from Unity of Chicago South, Beyond Walls Online New Thought Community. I'm Reverend Arcan, your guide, and as we continue through this journey from theory to now into expression. In this portion, this expression portion, over the past 2 weeks, we've explored faith and love. And today we continue our exploration of living the principles with a principle that's often misunderstood, the spiritual principle of power. When we think of power, we shouldn't be thinking of power over others. The focus for the best results, for the most positive results in our life, is power over ourselves from within. You shall receive power, Acts of the Apostles. Power is the faculty through which we express energy, strength, enthusiasm, and determination. Charles Fillmore. You know, when many people hear the word power, they think of control, of authority, of position, of influence. But our practice, our New Thought practice, approaches power differently. Power is not domination. Power is not domination over others. Power is the ability to direct energy consciously. Power is the ability to direct energy consciously. Think that up. Just think it through. The energy to direct consciousness where I want it to go. And the fact of the matter is that every day, whether we realize it or not, we are directing energy through our thoughts, through the attention that we give, through the emotions, through action. But the question becomes, I heard what you said, Rev, but What is spiritual power? You told me how it works and what it can do, but what is it? Charles Fillmore said this, that power is one of the 12 spiritual faculties, not something we earn, not something we acquire, but something already present, something that comes with our birth. So the question becomes not, do I have power? The question is, how am I using it? The question is, how am I using the power that I've been given, that I've had since birth? Mm, mm. How am I using it? Ernest Holmes reminds us that life is a mirror and reflects back to the thinker what the thinker thinks into it. How am I directing it? I'm directing it with my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, my actions. And now I'm being challenged by Holmes saying that the thinker receives the thoughts back to them. And if we take that premise, that means that life reflects consciousness. And if that is the fact that life reflects consciousness, then where we place our attention matters. Because attention is power, focus is power, choice is power. You see, power grows where attention flows. Power grows where attention flows. In other words, we give power to whatever we're putting our attention, wherever we're placing our attention. Listen to what I'm saying now. We give power to wherever we are attaching, focusing our attention. Well, Rev, I don't know about that. That sounds really woo-doo-doo-doo-doo kind of stuff. And I can give you an example. I won't say prove to you, but I can give you an example. The more I find myself worrying, the more the thing that I'm worrying about consumes my thoughts. And I want to say that it is consuming my thoughts because it's a problem. But if it didn't have energy, it couldn't consume my thoughts. So where is it getting the energy? Where is it getting power? Because it's just an idea. The power is coming from my attention on the idea, my focus on the issue. And the more I focus on it, the more power I give it. You say, well, why is that necessarily important? I know something about your practice, excuse me, and you deal with affirmations and denials. So, how does that play into this power you're talking about? If that's true, that that power, that power is given to a thing, hmm, then whether I affirm it or deny it, I'm giving it power because it's my thought that's into the thing. Mm, something to ponder. See, whatever constantly receives our attention receives our energy, affirmation or denial. And whatever receives our energy tends to expand. because our energy grows it like the sun and like feeding the soil. Our energy is that into the issue. Hmm. So many of us find ourselves giving away power without us even realizing it. See, many people, it's not about losing power. Oh, I lost my power. I used to be powerful. I used to get over these. It's not lost. Nothing is lost in the divine. It's surrendered. I have surrendered my power to the thing and made the thing bigger than me. Why does that happen? Why does that happen? Sometimes I'm just so scared. I'm just so afraid of the situation that I give it my power. Sometimes I dislike the situation. I dislike it so much that I give it my power with resentment. And so sometimes, through the belief that circumstances are in control of my life, I give it my power. Alice Walker observed that the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Mm. By thinking they don't have any. I don't have any power over that circumstance. You've just lost your power. Now, that's a very cute and clever statement. It is, but it's not just a social statement. It is a spiritual statement. Because once we forget our capacity to choose, we begin living reactively. Mm. Dr. Michael Beckworth put it beautifully. He said, energy flows where attention goes. Energy flows where attention goes. Now, we may have heard those words, but think about what they mean. If my attention lives in the fear of the situation, then energy flows to the situation. The situation becomes bigger in my mind than it really is. And you say, well, that can't be the case, Ralph. If I think it's big, it's big. If it's affecting my life. If I think it's over, it's over. It's affecting my life. But why is it? I want you to give it some thought. Why is it that you can talk to a minister, a spiritual leader, a friend, a parent, and all of a sudden feel better about the situation? Because the fear has been pulled back. You have unaware that you are unaware that the fact that you pull some energy back from it, you've chosen to take some power back because whoever you might be in counsel with, whatever you may have read, has allowed you to focus on the possibility that the problem is not really as big as it is. See, if my attention lives in possibility, then energy flows there. So what does that mean? So if I move my attention from the problem, the situation, and believe that there's a possibility of it being solved, I don't know what it is, then all of a sudden I've cut the flow off to feeding the problem and I've turned the flow into finding results in the possibility. Hmm. S- See, power, it may look like having a difficult conversation or changing a habit or setting a boundary or refusing to allow fear to make every decision. That might be what power looks like. But often, power is quiet. And sometimes power is simply continuing. So what do you mean? How's power? What? There's an issue, and it can stop me in my tracks. I can sit up for days and laminate over the fact that this problem exists in my life. Or I can say it's there, but I continue to live. Again, a way to move the energy of my power away from the issue in my life. And within our experience, within the Black experience, power has often appeared not through domination, but for us, through resilience, through creativity, through faith, through community, through the family. You see, to continue creating when circumstances say otherwise, that's an act of power. Hmm. Wow. Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Dr. Howard Thurman. Hmm. I can't please the world, but I can do what I've been given to do with what I've been given to do it with. You see, power is not merely resistance, power is expression. Power is bringing life forward. And therefore, when I focus on the issue, when I focus on the problem, when I focus on the circumstance, just by the nature of power, power gives it more life. And this is where we pause for a moment. This is what makes our celebration a little different on Sundays. This is where we pose the question, and folks that are online can come in and give their opinion or their comments. If they're on anything other than our team platform, they can only drop an opinion or only drop a comment because it is only on the platform that we can interact, where we can exchange in real time. But the question becomes, the inquiry becomes, the concern becomes, if you ask yourself, where in your life do you currently feel the most empowered? Wow, that's a heck of a question. Many of us derive our focus and our idea of power from our environment, family and community, whatever it might be. And it'll play out as power in our lives. For instance, a parent that has been raised through the use of corporal punishment feels that that's the power until educated, until shown something different. And they may feel that my power is in the fact that I control my children through this manner, you see. But where do you feel? And that's a question to ask yourself. Where do you feel? Where do you feel the most empowered? In what position? On my job? In my community? In my church? Next, I want to pose this one. What situations tend to pull you away from your sense of power? When I'm talking to, trying to resolve an issue over the phone, I don't feel that I have the power. I feel that I'm not in total control. When I am faced with the situation on my job. I don't feel that I have the power. What situation feels like you no longer have the power? And finally, what might change if you directed more attention toward possibility than toward limitation? Wow, that's such a powerful question. And that's one that we all can ask ourselves. I know I tend to fall into that rut every once in a while where the power is being given away to the situation. Mhm. Understand this, that power is not something we wait for. It is something that we recognize, something that we exercise. All that we do in this practical spiritual living is the fact that we are growing ourselves to recognize that much of what we need, we have. And if we have it, it becomes a thing. Well, will we exercise it? Will we do the work? I said, well, you're talking to me, Rev. I'm talking to Rev too. See, these are human things. Hmm. Wow. Viktor Frankl wrote that everything can be taken from a person, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude. And often that choice becomes the beginning of transformation. I choose not to be angry at situations anymore. I choose not to react in a certain way. I choose not to allow myself to. I choose, and that can begin the transformation. And now we come to that part, that most important part for me each week, and that's the soul inquiry. And this is certainly something that write it down, record it, go back and look at it, because this is a way to begin that transformation that we just spoke about. By asking this question to our soul, why am I becoming more aware of power I already possess? Why am I becoming more aware of power that I already possess? You say, but I'm not. I'm not ready for that. I got to work up to that. To ask that question. I don't know if I possess it. That's the beauty of soul inquiry. You're not asking yourself to evaluate a thing. You're asking the soul, you're asking the source to make you aware of what already exists. Can I say to you that it works? And then after that, ask your soul this question: why am I directing my energy, attention, and actions toward what I truly desire? Why am I directing my energy, my power to that which I really desire? You say, but I'm not doing it. That's why you ask the soul. That's why you ask the soul, because the soul will find the answer. Wow, it's been great today with practical spiritual living as we've gone over power, as we've moved into that taking action, as opposed to our first 5 weeks have been about what we're about understanding, learning. And now it's how do we put those things in action that we learned, that we understood, that we work to understand. And that's the series we're going through now. We've dealt with faith, we've dealt with love, and we now today have dealt with power. But there's something else special going on. After a short break, we will have our first Sunday conversation session right here on Microsoft Teams platform. Now, I invite you to take a short break and come back to join this special inauguration of Sunday Conversations. But in any case, I want to thank you all for sharing with us today and invite you to return and remind you that no matter who or where you are, the faith and love and power of the source of you supports you and is always walked with you. And as always, it's a matter of consciousness. I'll see some of you in a few. No matter where you are, we'll be coming to you with Sunday Conversations. We encourage you in the future to come over to Teams, Microsoft Teams, to get involved in the conversation, because it is a conversation. But on this inaugural first event, wherever you are, we merely say to you, take a few minutes, take a pause, and then come on and join us. And in that regard, I'll say just stay right where you are for this reminder.
We'll be taking a short intermission before today's Sunday conversation begins. We invite you to stay with us as we return in just a few minutes to continue our exploration of practical spirituality, personal growth, and conscious living. Today marks the beginning of a new journey of dialogue, discovery, and spiritual exploration through Sunday conversations. Consider taking a moment to stretch, maybe refresh your coffee, or simply sit in the silence. We'll return shortly for Sunday Conversations, where we continue exploring practical spirituality, conscious living, and the principles that support a more empowered life.
Into Sunday conversations. Um, we're pretty how can I say uh, exploratory. That's a good word for it. As we stretch out, we continue to stretch out. So if you're watching us on any of the social platforms at this particular time, thank you so much for doing so. We encourage you to join us with the next session, which will be next Sunday on our team platform. If you'd like to get an alert and a link, I encourage you to um, text 564 234 2890. That's 564 234 2890. I'll give it to you one more time. You want to text the word connect to 564 234 2890. You say, what's the difference? I'm watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch right now. And the difference is that this is a conversation, and to make it work, we need to have an inner dialogue, rather interchange and dialogue. And to do that, we've set up a platform that works for that, Microsoft Teams, and you just need a link so you can get over. So if you want to come for our first part, the celebration, where we really get into a particular principle, or if you want to come over for this session, these Sunday conversation, and we are focused on healing for the next 5 weeks. So those of you that are continuing after spiritual living, thank you so much. Practical spiritual living. And if this is your first time joining us in any way whatsoever, we welcome you. You are right on time. Know that the next 5 weeks, as I mentioned, we will explore healing through the teachings of several influential New Thought teachers and authors. Now, this is not intended to be, nor will it be, an academic study. It's not even a lecture. And as I mentioned, it's an opportunity to explore how these ideas might be applied to everyday life through exchange and dialogue. We start off with Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity. But before we get into it, let us just pause for a moment for some stillness. Take a deep breath in, hold it, now release. The great fundamental principle of healing is to know that there is nothing to heal, that the whole person is spiritual and perfect. Of course, Charles Fillmore. There's nothing to heal. There's a perfection that already lies within us. Hmm. Now, I know that statement can surprise some of us and even challenge our experiences in life, but most of us have been taught to think healing is something to fix, fixing something that's wrong, a problem to solve, a condition to overcome, a wound to repair. But yet, Fillmore invites us to consider just a different possibility. Understand a different possibility. You know, one of the things about New Thought is that people come in sometimes and they figure they have to lose themselves into this philosophy, this religion, this practice. And the fact of the matter is, even with Emily Cady, Dr. Cady, one of the primary books, Lessons in New Thought, she says, just for a period, put your stuff aside, take this in, and if you don't like it, throw it away at the end of the 12 weeks. We don't have to lose ourselves. We can challenge ourselves. It's what we think serving us. Charles Fillmore says, but what if healing begins not with fixing anything? What if healing begins with remembering? And the central idea I'd like us to explore today is this. Healing is the recognition of wholeness, not the creation of wholeness, the recognition of it. Those statements would imply that we're already whole, that in any condition that we currently are in, we're already whole. Fillmore taught that beneath the appearance, any appearance, there is a spiritual reality. Like beneath fear, there's peace. Beneath confusion, there's wisdom. And beneath limitation, there is possibility. And beneath every condition, there remains an essential wholeness. Now, sometimes folks come into New Thought, into metaphysical practice, and they think that they're supposed to deny, erase. And Fillmore says this. He says, it doesn't mean that we deny pain. It doesn't mean we ignore challenges. It doesn't mean we pretend difficulties don't exist. But what it does mean is that we refuse to allow conditions to define our deepest identity, our deepest reality. So many of us have spent years identifying ourselves by our struggles. My illness, my failure, my anxiety, my disappointment, my loss. But the fact is, what happens if we begin asking a different question? Asking ourselves, who am I beneath the condition? Who am I behind the story? Who am I beneath the label? Fillmore would suggest that healing begins there. Now, understand that this principle applies to more than just physical healing. Some of us have other issues that are not physical. See, it could be an emotional healing needed, a relationship healing needed, a financial healing needed, a spiritual healing needed. Whenever we move from seeing ourselves as broken to seeing ourselves as whole, something begins to shift. Not because circumstances instantly change, but because consciousness begins to change. And consciousness influences how we respond to life. And to those of you, again, that are not on the platform with us, I give you questions that you can explore. Hopefully, you have a way to write them down, or you can come back and look at the tape. When you hear the phrase healing is the recognition of wholeness, what stands out to you? What does it make you think? Where does your mind go? Exploration two is that can you think of a time when changing how you viewed yourself changed how you handled a challenge? Hallelujah, hallelujah to that one, without a doubt. And finally, where might your life be if you were focusing more on wholeness as opposed to the condition? The wholeness that underlies, as Fillmore teaches, underneath the condition. The thing you can't see, the thing that's laying in the cut, so to speak. Mm, wow. Just think of those things. Let's get still right now. Again, I encourage you to make this happen, be a part of Sunday Conversations by joining us on our team platform. And to get a link, I ask that you, or suggest that you text 564 234 2890 with the word connect. And we will know that that means you want to get a link to this portion of our Sunday offering, practical spiritual living being the first portion, and Sunday conversations being the second. But in light of that, holding that number 564 234 2890, let's take a moment and just become still. Start by taking a slow breath in, holding it for a moment, and then releasing it totally. And one more time, slow breath in, holding it, and then releasing it totally. And now bring your attention inward. Close your eyes if you need. Shut off the world. You're within yourself at this moment. And consider an area of your life where healing is desired. Just give it some thought. Some physical, some financial, some situation in your life that requires healing. Yeah. Just gently hold that thought gently. Don't grab it tight. If it wants to move around as your eyes are closed, it wants to move around in your mind, allow it. Just think about it. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to change it. Simply hold it in awareness. Now the question becomes, silently ask yourself, what if there is more wholeness here than I've been able to see with this situation, What if it's more wholeness in this situation than I've been able to see? That wholeness is the completeness, is the allness that Fillmore is speaking of. What if there's more of that there than the challenge, than the situation? And just allow that question to rest and allow the situation to move any way it needs to move. Mhm. Let's just pause with that and allow it to work through our system for a moment, knowing that the wholeness is being uncovered right now without any effort, just by you asking the question. Whatever the situation is, know that the wholeness is being uncovered right now. And as we know that, and we're not trying to convince ourselves, we just know that it is. And then we ask this soul inquiry: why am I becoming more aware of the wholeness already present within me? That's it. Just ask that question. I'll release everything else. Why am I becoming more aware of the wholeness that's already within me? And let it sit. Just let it sit for a moment. You don't have to write it down. Let it sit. And then another question, another soul inquiry. Why am I learning to see beyond appearances and recognize a deeper truth? Allow that to settle. Don't try to answer it. It's not for you to answer. It's for our soul to answer as we hold the thought, as we hold the question. Mhm. Know that today we explore what it could seem to be a simple, but really a profound idea from Charles Fillmore. And that is, healing is not becoming whole. Healing is recognizing that wholeness is already present. This has been a great time, this Sunday conversation. I'm looking forward to so many more, and forward to move into an area that is more healing for all of us. I want to remind you again, if you'd like to get a link for Sunday conversations so you can be a part of the conversation itself and not just an observer, text the word connect to 564 234 2890. And right now, this is Reverend Arkan saying, I want to thank you so much for sharing this time together. And know that next week we continue our exploration, and this time with being led by Ernest Holm, the thoughts of Ernest Holm, and the relationship between consciousness, thought, and healing. Until then, may you walk gently, remain open, and continue discovering the wholeness already within you. And know that anyone that has been out on Facebook, YouTube, any of the various platforms, uh, that we kept streaming today on this initial, but I do encourage you to join us on our team platform. And again, for the last time, the number is 564 234 2890, and the word is connect. And we'll make sure that you get that link for next time. And until then, we want to let you know that no matter who you are and where you are, the source of you walks with you, is within you, and will always be there. Namaste.